Tyrant Enthroned is a VR game project I worked on with my friend Ella. We started by looking through the available VR frameworks, hoping that they would inspire us, and inspire us they did. There were two specific bits in the BNG framework which really got us excited. A functional bow and arrow, and climbing, whether it be up walls or with monkey bars. The combination of these two elements reminded me of my Zelda fanfiction, where my character, Misko, kills the King of Hyrule in cold blood as the blood moon rises in the sky. And so our direction was set. A VR game with medieval aesthetics where you're an assassin on your way to kill the Tyrant. Tyrant, that rings a bell. Small note here, but the name of the game came from the song Marks of the Evil One by the band Ghost. When I thought of the word tyrant, their lyrics came to mind. Fall on us and hide us from the tyrant who is satanically enthroned. We drew up the first draft of the level, as well as some rough ideas for obstacles. I like to imitate Nintendo when I do level design, so I suggested an order of what the player should learn and when to challenge them, etc. Our scope was much larger than we had time for, so not all of the level we imagined is in the final demo, but the core level design principles still apply. My main job throughout the project was getting the code functional. I faced two main challenges with this: the script of the player getting caught and the script of the king getting killed. First, how the guards catch you. I made a guard with a navmesh component and wrote a very basic patrol script. I gave him a flashlight, planning to make it so whatever the player is in the light, the guard will pursue. I couldn't give the light a collider of its own, so I made a flashlight-shaped cone that has an emissive material on it, and gave that a mesh collider. If the player is seen, the guard pursues. They chase until they get bored of chasing the player, or until the player is caught. As for the effects of getting caught, I hid invisible checkpoints throughout the level. The idea is whenever a guard collides with you, you just teleport back to the previous one. This wouldn't have been difficult if the XR rig that came with the framework wasn't difficult to read. It turns out the XR rig bit of the player doesn't ever actually move. All the movement happens here in the player controller. Collision is also quite odd with this controller. I had to use the head detect collider for collision to register at all. Once I figured out all that though, the guards were functional. As for killing the king, this script was the easier of the two. I attached the same script to all the arrows. If the arrow collides and you hit the king's game object gets destroyed. Other than code, I did most of the testing and aided Ella with some level layout. I modeled this bridge and added a second tower and the king. When we had our playtest, the level was half the size it is today. I wrote most of the questions if memory serves me right. I asked the players to rate the game out of 5 stars and rate the game's core concept on the same scale. The average rating of the game itself is 4.14 across 7 players. The core concept got 4.43 on average. These stats alone show that we were doing something right, but the players also unanimously said that controls were intuitive and that they all got to the end of the stage. If only we had more time, we'd expand this project into the game we imagined. But without further ado, here's the demo's final build as playthrough by me.